Well, to talk about all this, we're now joined by Jeremy Kinsman, Distinguished Fellow at the Canadian International Council. He served as Canada's ambassador to the European Union from 2002 to 2006. Jeremy Kinsman, good to see you again. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Michael.
Now, clearly, when we talk about President Stubb and Prime Minister Carney, these are two leaders who get along. They respect each other, so much so that during his speech in Davos, the Prime Minister did reference President Stubb. He used the term value-based realism that was coined by the Finnish president. And that's something that Mr. Carney says the world needs to lean into instead of pretending the rules-based international order still functions. Talk to us about how these two men are finding common ground as Donald Trump disrupts old alliances.
I think they have a certain symmetry of view as being, as you say, realists, understanding that the old world rules-based order that we've lived under and have has guided us and reassured us since the Second World War is over. And though neither has been especially openly aggressive about the United States, whose role under Trump being the reason for that, everybody understands it. And we're exposed to the United States in, of course, a unique way. And we are, Canada, reaching out for partnerships. Carney speaks of diversification, and it can only happen in a big project sort of way. And I've always thought, Michael, that Canada had a special vocation for a deeper relationship with Europe. That geography matters less in the world today. And I believe that very much. And when Carney said some months ago that Canada is the most European of non-European nations, it's an interesting thought. But I got it. I think it's probably true. And to get to the point of Finland, Finland is a country that shares an awful lot with Canada. I mean, it's the same social model. But more important than that, Finland is part of the Nordic Five. The Nordic Five, those five countries, are putting their efforts together to form a coherent group, which, as an ensemble, can be very much a partner for Canada. They also have an organization called the NB8, Nordic Five, and the three Baltic countries. They have a population together of about 33 million, a GDP, collective GDP, about the same size as Canada. And there's a very sense of symmetry of values, to get to Stubbs' point. Mm-hmm. And I think that Finland is a terrific anchor in that likelihood that that group of countries within the European Union will become a major partner in Canada's efforts to diversify.
So a major partner with the Nordic Five, the NB8, as you say, as well. But there was talk. In fact, it was President Stubb who suggested that Canada considered joining the EU. He kind of repeated that today during a news conference with Melanie Joly in Ottawa. The Prime Minister says full membership for the EU is unlikely for Canada. But how advantageous would it be for this country to join the EU in some form when our nearest neighbor still talks about possible annexation?
Yeah. Well, I don't, joining the EU is a process, Michael, that is almost unendurable, because it means that all of your regulatory system has to be symmetrized with what the Europeans call their acquis. That is, all the regulations that have developed since the common market was formed back in, I think, 1958. And it's an arduous process, but it's necessary because they are increasingly an integrative union of countries. Mm-hmm. We could do that, except that many of those changes would then undo many of the agreements that we have with the United States, who remains our major market still, even though we want to diversify.
So is there any route for Canada?
What?
Would there be any route for Canada with Europe, do you think?
Well, I think what we can do is something different. I mean, the European Union is changing some of its big rules, and I think we could have some kind of status of associate membership. Stube is not the first to say this. The French foreign minister mentioned it the other day. Others are thinking of it. I, was an ambassador in Europe for a long time, including in Britain, and I've never seen in all those years Canada and Europe associated together in the thinking of people across the Atlantic as much as today. And they speak, when they speak of the future, they speak of Europe and Canada. And, I guess it's kind of flattering, but I think it's also can be very significant. If we're going to diversify seriously, we're going to have to diversify with a partner with whom we can have big projects. And the attractiveness of the Nordic Five, if you want, and Finland, is that they have many of the same kind of what will I say, ambitions structurally that we do. They're very much concerned with security in the Arctic, and that, of course, is a major subset of what Canada wants to do. And I think that with those Nordic partners, we actually can do some real stuff in securing our shared Arctic, the North Atlantic, and developing it together.
Mm-hmm. Which underlines the importance of this visit by the President of Finland. Listen, Jeremy, always appreciate the insight. Thank you for this.
Okay, Michael, thank you.